Could home prices be coming down here in Vegas? That is the big question that we're going to be digging into today at the Las Vegas Locale Monthly Market Update. My name is Dan.
And I'm Adrian.
And today we're going to be digging into the numbers for February 2025 and what it might be telling us about the single family and condo townhome market, both in the past and where we might be headed.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and jump into some things here. We'll start with what's going on with closings. And in both markets, single family and condo townhome, closings were less than what we saw the same time a year ago. We saw a 6% drop on the single family side and almost a 3% drop on the condo townhome side. Why are we not seeing as many closings this time this year compared with a year ago?
Well, I think it has to do with the uncertainty that people are facing right now, right? We just got out of the election, new president just took over, and things keep changing. And not just to what he's changing, but then how markets react past that. I think people don't know what's going to happen, and when people don't know what's going to happen, that kind of has them taking a break.
Yeah. Now, usually when you see a slowdown in sales, that could lead to a drop in prices. That's just not what we're seeing yet, right? The
No,
median sales price for single family is sitting at 485,000. Condo townhomes are sitting at 303,000. Both an increase year over year.
yeah. Now, time will tell if that price sticks, right? If it maintains that way, because of what's going on with listings, right?
That's right. Yeah. So with new listing activity, there are some pretty big increases compared with a year ago. On the single family side, we're seeing a 10.5% increase in listing activity. And on the condo townhome side, almost a 30% increase. A lot more selling activity this year than a year ago.
Yeah, a lot more listing activity, right? And at 30%, you can't have too many of those before you really have start to see problems with condo prices coming down.
Now, there is evidence that these price drops could be coming down the road if what we're seeing from a trends perspective on inventory does continue. We track a statistic known as effective months of availability, otherwise known as the absorption rate. This number is calculated by taking the total amount of inventory, dividing it by the number of sales for the month. We currently have 2.9 months of inventory on the single family side, 3.9 months on the condo townhome side. Usually when this number is between 0 to 4 months, we're in a seller's market.
Right.
4 to 6 months, we're in a balanced market. Anything above 6 months, we're in a buyer's market. So on both, it's showing that we're still in a seller's market, but the trends are showing us we are substantially higher than we were at a year ago.
Yeah, the months of inventory keep climbing, right? And that's when not only are you going to see price drops, even though we're still on the seller side. I think in Las Vegas, I've always felt that once you start getting close to it, it feels like a buyer's market because you're able to negotiate with sellers. You're getting closing costs for them. You're able to get rate buy downs from paid by the seller, and things like that. So I think it already starting to feel that way. And if it continues, then that's when we'll see prices coming down.
That's right. So we're not quite there where prices are coming tumbling down or even dropping, right? There just isn't enough competition for a home to start cutting their prices too much. But we are seeing, to your point, a lot of that negotiating where sellers are giving money towards a buyer's closing costs, or dropping their asking price from just the initial value that they were looking for.
Yeah, which answers the question you asked at first: are prices coming down, or is this a buyer's market? Not quite yet, but I think it's a lot of good opportunity for buyers.
Yeah, and I could see what leads to that if this continued uncertainty slows down the real estate market, at least from a buying perspective. The sellers are coming, they're ready to put their property up for sale. It's going to be a question of, does that buying activity keep up or does it continue to slow down because there continues to be these question marks around mortgage rates, Trump's policies, etc.
Exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of mortgage rates, we have been noticing that, at least compared with a month ago, mortgage rates did come down. It's kind of been in this volatile position where, depending on the day and the time of day you're asking, they could either be going up or down. Um, you know, a lot of times these mortgage rates have been influenced by the economy and what's going on with the jobs report and inflation. And so the good news is those reports are showing favorable numbers, at least towards mortgage rates coming down. The question is going to be, how soon can we get these mortgage rates to a place where a lot of people are looking for, which is, in my opinion, that's sub 6%.
Yeah, anything under 6%. And I think it's important to note too that, while we fear the economy going into a bad place, that's actually what's going to drive mortgage rates down.
Yeah,
right.
that's exactly
As
right.
as the market kind of gets worse and worse, and we see more unemployment, we see less inflation happening. That's when we'll see mortgage rates kind of dip lower and lower. So
That's right. So right now, the way it stands, the market's in a pretty healthy, pretty much balanced position right now, where prices could go up if we don't see a ton of inventory. But the reality is, these prices are probably going to stay the same, if not potentially go down, if we continue to see more new listings with a standstill in buying activity.
Yeah, and I think a good point to bring up also is that the Fed just announced that they're putting a freeze on rate cuts, federal rate
Mm.
cuts, right? And so they still plan to have two more interest rate cuts by the end of the year, which will probably influence mortgage rates to come down. So while right now we see listings kind of stacking, that could change if the interest rate does drop later in the year.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just pay attention to what the Fed does. Fed's a lot of times giving us a pulse on the economy, which obviously influences mortgage rates. So hopefully we see these rates get down to those sub sixes and a lot of people come flooding into the market getting their dream home.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. Well, that's what we have for you as our market update. We hope that you had your questions answered. And if not, reach out directly and let us see if we can assist you today.
Take care.